quicker, quicker, quicker. Now hold on to your feelings because it's going to get hairy. Welcome to Thunderdome Metal Reviews, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm the Dr. Dave Pizza. With me are Tracy, Gabe, and Ben. How are you, gentlemen?
My piss is radioactive.
Damn right it is.
What a time to be alive.
Uh-huh. What a time indeed. How are you, Ben?
Living the dream. Watching the outback in the world burn while you're choking somebody and cleaving their head in twain with a, I don't even know what that is.
Machete or some, looks like a machete. Those of you who cannot see because either you've been blinded by previous Werewolves albums or are not watching us on YouTube, we're reviewing Werewolves. What a Time to Be Alive. This is their second album from 2021 and another one coming right down the pipeline. I found it today. I'm like, wow, Tracy has so much to live for this year. Tracy, what are some stats in Comic Sans and otherwise?
In Comic Sans, this album was released on January 29th of 2021. It was both ranked in David and Gabe's Album of the Year list last year, if you listened to that episode. This is their second studio album. It was released on Prosthetic Records, recorded at AAA Studios, Holes and Corners, and Ghost Note Studios. It was mixed by Joe Haley, mastered by Mark Pullen, and it comes in at a very much been approved 34 minutes and 56 seconds. You have Joe Haley on drums, Sam Johnson on guitars and bass, and Jack Hartley on vocals. If you could call what he does vocals. Not a lot of clean singing by him.
I just want to point out, Tracy, some of the stuff that you've picked out has worse vocals than this stuff.
Oh, I know. I'm just joking. I will say for his fried vocals, he's very good with his fried vocals and uses very different versions.
He does.
The songs on here.
I think, yes, go ahead, please.
Which I was going to say, that was actually a very well approved change of vocals. You don't get the same like we saw with Cerebral Rot or Tomb Mode or early death metal, Cannibal Corpse, just Cookie Monster vocals. You get some of that here. You also get some of the higher pitch kind of deathcore style. You get a little bit of black metal.
Yeah, I think he has some of the best straight fry vocals I've ever heard. Actually, it's one of the things I like about it. The album before this band is only 32 minutes, so I was listening to both of them on the treadmill. Like, I'll just listen to both Werewolf albums. It's only a 67-minute commitment. I found out about this album because iTunes and its algorithm was like, you like a lot of heavy shit, and once Gabe gets on, he'll like heavy shit too, so you should listen to this. And I did. I'm like, god damn. So I started listening to it, and I fucking loved it from the first time I heard it, obviously. I mean, the complaints I usually have, like, why isn't it faster? Why are the drums not shattering my spine? Why does the cover of this album not resemble the worst day these Werewolves have ever had? And I did rank it quite highly in my end of year review. I know Gabe did too. And it's just fucking awesome. I mean, it's not quite straight death. I agree with you. There's some elements actually of metalcore, but in particularly of black metal in this. And I don't necessarily like black metal usually, but this sounds less like it was recorded in a muffin tin and more like, I don't know, the drummer's trying to kill you, I guess is what's happening from the moment this album opens.
I mean, he's got his machine gun drumming down.
Fuck yes, he does. This album is just a blast beat, like from beginning to end. Anyway, I cannot say enough good things about this album. Don't give it to people you actually love because it'll probably destroy them. Like, I mean, from the moment it opens, it just tells you to go fuck yourself. Well, it's so misanthropic.
That leads me to a question for you, David. Have you shared this with your daughter yet?
Oh, she's heard Werewolves, obviously. Like, we ride in cars, Tracy. Things happen. We go for walks. Yeah, she's heard Werewolves. I'm always like, you think your mom will like this song? She's like, God, no. I'm like, do you like it? And she goes, so, I mean, she can handle it, Tracy, but she was raised both on music like this and during the apocalypse. So, yeah. I mean, she has a whole different vibe than a millennial.
She's not your traditional millennial.
No, she's, I guess, Gen Alpha is what they're called, and they're going to completely batshit insane, I think, given the arc of their lives, right? I mean, this is the kid that stared in the distance saying, I sure wish I wasn't growing up in the time of climate change. I mean, like, she's 7, so that's where we're headed, Tracy. This cover, this is where we're headed right here. what is even happening behind? It doesn't matter. And it's I
What
love
was
that.
the
Go ahead.
what was these? They were famous for doing it in South Africa, where they put gas in a tire, put it around somebody's neck, and
It's
set it on
called
fire.
That's called necklacing.
That's what's going on in the picture on the left.
Yes,
of
it
that.
is. I know.
I don't know what's going on in the rest of it.
A bunch of carnage. I mean, the new album cover, it's like this montage of Mans of Humanity to Man emerging from a cave. It's like an evolution thing of horror. It's I don't know who does their art. I think it's the same person because they all look very similar. You know, I want to point out how lean this operation is. It's like 3 dudes. The singer's also doing the like production. Like it's I think this sounds massive and is very well done for like a 3-person outfit that has, I assume, $10. And I want to, while I hate everything about the era we live in for artists, I hate it, what it means for them, especially now that venture capitals make it even crazier. I would never in a million years have known about this or had this, right? This is exactly the kind of thing that, you know, I think about when I used to buy metal. I'm like, oh, I would have bought this, but it wasn't in the record store in the mall where I lived. Like, it just wasn't a thing. So even if they're only getting 1/1 trillionth of 1 cent, they've probably gotten several dollars from me. Actually, I was trying to count the amount of times I've listened to this. So I'm doing my part. Are you? I also, and then I'll shut up. I love the samples. I love that they open with Hugo Weaving, Australia's Treasure. That's the sample at the end of the first song, the guy from The Matrix, and then it's just all these samples are just, you know, not for anyone. I guess they're all pretty brutal, and they break up the monotony a little bit. And you know, this album proves, like, do you need a slow song? Not really. I guess maybe the closer is medium tempo, but we'll talk about those in a minute. I'm gonna shut up. I feel like I should hand the mic to Gabe before Tracy like deletes me and cancels me from the show.
No, let you keep speaking.
Looks like Ben wants to say something.
No, go ahead, Gabe.
Okay. Well, in that case, it is true that I ranked this album in my top metal albums of 2021. It was number 12, and it probably would have ranked even higher than that if there had not been lots of equally and even more excellent albums than this one. But when I was sort of trying to figure out where to place it, it earned an A, and it, you know, sort of is on the tail end of the A's in my list when it goes into the A minuses. But that said, the album holds up, you know, in this about 6 months that's passed since it came out. It's still full of deadly riffs. It's just crushingly heavy. It's just relentlessly pummeling. And that's pretty much why I like it. And if you want to, I guess, nitpick and talk about the faults of it, it does, even though the vocals tend to vary a little bit and the drumming style tends to vary a little bit, you could argue that it is kind of one note in the sense that it is loud and death metal-y. But if that's what you're here for, you're going to like this record. And I was certainly here for that.
I think you mean the best note. Like, why would I need any other note to be happening? I mean, this is like,
well, I mean, and the other thing is like that last track too is slower, and I think that's worth pointing out too. It's a very good change to introduce there, and it isn't blast beats the whole way through, but it is funny to say that, Tracy.
I mean, yeah, I think, well,
because that black metal album we reviewed that you picked was like blast beats most of the way through,
the entire way.
What I will say is, and you know, David has filleted this pretty hard, so I will not fillet it as hard. I completely agree with him that I was impressed, and I know we can do all kinds of shit with layering, but I was impressed by how much sonic space this takes up being a 3-piece. We've talked about that before with other 3-pieces, how hard that is to do, but these guys do it really well. For people who've been listening for a long time, although I think it's been a long time since I've said this, what I like in an album is I want them fast, heavy, and political, and also angry. It checks all those boxes.
Hell yes, it does.
I'm not as much of a fan of the vocalist as David is. Although I did chastise Tracy a little bit, I will probably side with him just a little bit. I do think that's one of the weaker aspects, even though, you know, I've heard much worse. So I am not going to ding it too much for that. But yeah, man. And also, you give me an album that's 35 minutes, I can listen to just damn near anything because it doesn't take that long. But this was actually fucking fun. Pretty much pedal to the floor the entire time, except for as both Gabe and David have said, that last track.
Yeah, it's just running straight to a brick wall, essentially.
So I want to come out with the track you guys had me here. We're like, hey, Tracy, this is what to expect off the Werewolves album. It's probably my least favorite track on this album. So it's like you picked the one that like I dislike the most.
I think it was the one that had a video. Even the dumb luck. But still,
Dumb
you
luck.
have to admit,
But yeah, this album is
it's not false advertising.
if I know of any friend, it's like, I like death metal. I now have a go-to album. Like, have you heard this yet? Just kind of like I know where it's rare enough there where they haven't heard it. Like Cerebral Rot was that album last year. It's like, I like death metal. Well, you need to check this album out. Just rare enough that they might not have heard it, but enough to check a lot of boxes and where it's actually pretty damn good.
I would send it to Thrash Heads too, because I mean it's got the tempo for that. I mean, some of them might not like the death and black metal elements that are in it, but I would send it to them anyway.
It reminds me, it's got some of that Creator Gods of Violence feel to it as well. When you think about it, their 2017 album, there's a lot of like kind of like layover over that. So yeah, definitely, I think some thrash heads would probably dig it. They may not like the vocals. That's probably where they probably bounce off of it. But I think for the most part, if you're just a fan of heavy, fast music, I think you're going to liking this. Anything else to say, or should we move on to tracks?
Let's move on to tracks.
So everybody get your drinks ready for David. We'll let him go first.
Drink, gentlemen. Every fucking one of these songs, anyone who doesn't like all these songs is a coward and deserves to be crush gasmed. I don't know. Every one of these songs is awesome. I like that the last track is that on that last note, they're like, slow down a little bit. It's got some cool sort of atmospherics, but from start to finish, this album is pedal to the floor. The drums are clearly trying to kill you. It's just riff. I fucking love this shit.
I really love their commitment to it with songs like I Don't Like You, Unfathomably Fucked, Antisocial, Traitors and Bastards, and they will pay with their own blood. So cheers, gentlemen.
So I'm going to deviate a little bit from the two people who've spoken so far. I think I Don't Like You is a service opener, but I don't think it's a great opener. I think it's one of the weaker tracks on this album. Sublime Wartime Voyeurism is probably my least favorite track on this album. But I think this album really kicks into its groove. And I think from track 3 on, this album is just a nonstop hammer to the face. So, I mean, 3 through 9. So, yeah.
I got 4 words. Just take the ride.
So, all right. So, see,
damn right.
We're getting some pretty good major vibes off this. So, gentlemen, where does it rank?
I mean, you know what I'm going to say.
I
assume you know what.
A plus.
This is a thing about me. I don't think we know that yet. I have this weird thing, kind of like Ben, about legacy a little bit. So this album is fucking amazing, and I adore it. But maybe the next one will be better. Like, I don't know the arc yet, so I'm gonna give it an A. Trending. You know what? I'm even gonna give it a high A. What is that? 96 is before A plus kicks in. Is that right? Because 97 is already an A plus.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 96 merely because, as an historian, I want a little bit more context. I want to see sort of the arc. I kind of want to hear the newest one and then sort of think about it. But right now, this album is absolutely a 96 for me. It's fucking badass.
Well, it's an improvement off their first album.
It is.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if that's continuing. I'm like, but what if the next one is the A plus album, right? Because I don't. I'm weird that way, Tracy, because I'm such a brand person. I fucking love this band now. That first album I love it too. I'd probably give it an A minus. This is definitely a 96, and we'll see about that album in June. So there's only one song out. It sounds a lot like these, but I'm sorry it hurt you, Tracy, but also not sorry.
Well, you didn't hurt me. I'm going to come in at a 90 and A minus. I don't know if I would have ended up on my end of year list last year, but it would have definitely been in consideration.
I am also going to give it an A minus. I don't think quite as highly of it as David, but I do really like it. It would have been in my top 25. It probably would have been in my top. With an A minus, that probably would have been in the top 15 somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it would fall because I didn't go back and look, but yeah. And I say this as somebody who believes that bands can have multiple A+ albums, but this is pretty fucking close to, and it might grow on me over the years. It might become legendary or better, but right now it's an A-.
Yeah, not that much has changed since the time that I ranked this in my top albums of 2021 list. So this is still an A for me.
Where does that put us, Tracy?
That gives us an aggregate of a 93.
Fuck yes, it made it into A territory.
Now, gentlemen, would you buy it?
I'd buy 4 copies and hand one to each of you.
Yay.
just on principle, and one for that cat. So 5 copies immediately.
He appreciates that because he's a fan. Yeah, I will wind up owning this. I haven't bought it yet, but I will.
I would buy it for nothing else than the album cover.
I thought about that in an LP size. That image.
Yes. But I also want to say the attention to detail in there, because I didn't notice it until I looked at it.
Oh yeah,
blown up like it was, that I didn't notice the nipple ring on the woman.
Yeah, it's no this whoever painted these 3 album covers did it with love and just commitment to the craft.
Oh, they did, definitely. Gabe, would you buy it? I don't remember if you said yes.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, there you go. We've got a very much Thunderdome approved album, courtesy of David here. As for our next one, I don't feel like it's going to be as much Thunderdome approved. It is my pick, and it's Downfall of Gaia's Ethic of Radical Finitude.
A very different album from this one.
And love will tear us apart again. That's all I have to say.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
It's going great on Thunderdome Metal Reviews.